Welcome, everyone, to It Starts with Mom Live Texas edition. I'm HARO, the Public Affairs Director for iHeartMedia Dallas, and we are so excited that you have joined us today. We know how challenging the past few months have been for everyone, especially for moms. As we face the COVID-19 crisis, it is more important than ever that we come together to support moms, babies, and families. And that's why we are here today. Today launched a series of panels in Texas that will address some of today's biggest challenges of motherhood. We want you to feel empowered to navigate through the daily hurdles of being a mom. This is the second panel in a series of 5, and we are diving into millennials and motherhood. Millennials have not only taken over the workplace, they are taking over as moms. Millennial moms make up 90% of all new moms in the US, working full time, doing life with a significant other, and running a household can be a struggle. Then add children in the mix. Our powerful panel will tackle topics of greatest concern to millennial moms today. I am proud to partner with March of Dimes and our sponsors to bring this discussion to you today. Moms and babies are facing an urgent crisis. Moms and babies, with the US being the most dangerous place to give birth in the developed world. March of Dimes is on our side, leading the fight for the health of all moms and babies. They work to advance research, affect health policy change, and provide care and support programs to moms, babies, and families. I want to thank all of you for joining us for It Starts with Mom Live Texas edition. Let's get started and meet our first section of panelists here to discuss social media. Joining me is Dr. Terry Major Kincaid and Dr. KRISTIN LASSETER. Welcome, ladies. Each of you are medical professionals and leaders in our community who know the power of social media in today's society, especially among moms and the millennial generation. We are excited to hear your professional and personal insight on how to sift through loads of information with the internet at your fingertips. Dr. Terry, I'd like to start with you. Can you give our viewers some more information on your background and what led you to your specialty?
Hey everybody, what's up, Texas? I'm super excited to be here today on Texas Live Edition. I have been a neonatologist for the past 20 years. I take care of premature babies and sick babies in the ICU nursery. My sister was a preterm baby born in 1968, weighing 1 pound. She wasn't supposed to survive. And she is the reason why I wanted to be a preemie baby doctor. I wanted to take care of the babies that could fit in the palm of your hand. So I'm from Louisiana originally, but I've called Texas home for the past 26 years. I've been here longer now than I ever was in Louisiana. And I consider it just a blessing and a privilege every day that I walk into the ICU nursery to take care of babies and to meet families. But the reason I love March of Dimes is because I feel like once somebody's in the ICU nursery, it's too late. I have a lot of things in the ICU nursery. I do my best to get every baby home, but I am standing with March of Dimes to make sure that nobody's baby has to come to the ICU nursery. Nobody has to say goodbye to their baby too soon, and that every baby and mom can be born healthy. And so that's why I love March of Dimes. It gives me hope to do my job when I'm outside of the ICU nursery. So I'm super excited to be here. I'm not a millennial mom, but I have millennial nieces, nephews, and most of my patients are millennial moms. And I spend quite a bit of my day trying to help them sift through all the information we've had to deal with since the pandemic started. So I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you, Dr. Terry. Now, Dr. Lassiter, same to you. Can you give our viewers some more information on your background and also what led to your specialty?
Sure. So I'm KRISTIN LASSETER. I'm a reproductive psychiatrist here in Texas. Also, I'm in Austin. So reproductive psychiatrist, I always get asked, what is that? It's essentially a physician who specializes in mental health and mental illness in relation to reproductive hormone changes. So like estrogen and progesterone. So my main focus is on women who are trying to conceive or who are pregnant or postpartum and have a history of psychiatric illness or, start having some mental health issues during their pregnancy or postpartum while they're trying to breastfeed. And similar to Dr. Terry, I see a lot of women who, who have babies in the NICU or who are struggling with really difficult situations. And I see a lot of women who are millennials. I'm a millennial mom too, so it's a great patient population to work with.
Thank you, Dr. Lassiter. We
They're the
appreciate the
best.
work.
I'm jealous of the millennial moms, actually. This is a great time to
Because?
be a mommy. You have so many options. You can do it your way. There are no fixed rules. We can be out in the workforce. We can be home with our babies. We can do flex work. I didn't have those options. I say go for it. I mean, I don't want to do it again, but I'm kind of jealous.
You can be a support mom to the
That's right.
millennial moms.
That's right.
Well, we appreciate the work that both of you are doing for moms and babies. I'm going to pose our first question to Dr. Terry. You have a personal website and social channels. What made you take your years of knowledge to social media, Dr. Terry?
So I was actually very resistant to social media. I came to social media on my 40th birthday. I got a chance to visit Africa for my 40th birthday, and we were there with a couple who had taken all these pictures. I'm like, well, how can I see the pictures? And they were like, you got to go to Facebook. I'm like, what? And so, now I'm 51, but, so I'm like, shoot, I told my husband, we got to create a Facebook account because how are we going to see our pictures? So that is actually how I came to Facebook. But the reason I decided to move my medical knowledge to social media is because the populations that I serve, the mommies that I see every day, that is where they're getting their information. They're getting their information from the Instagram influencers. They're getting their information from Twitter. I mean, they really, really are. And I only have 1 or 2 opportunities to interact with them directly in the hospital care setting. But the rest of the time, they're on social media. And so it's incumbent upon us as medical professionals to make sure that there is reliable information out there. So a lot of stories, every patient's story is valuable. Everybody has their experience, but how do you balance somebody else's story with what you're going through so that you can be an advocate for your health? So one of my pet peeves is, I literally just went through this with my sister-in-law yesterday, is that we go to see our providers. The provider thinks they shared the information. We come back home to our family, like, well, what did the doctor say? Well, I don't know. Well, why didn't you ask? Well, I didn't know what to ask. Well, what did they say? Well, I don't know. Well, what did they say? So I really feel like we have to do a better job presenting the information so that people actually, understand what it is that you shared with them so that they can be an advocate. So I consider my platform as a way to really break things down in the nuts and bolts so somebody can be empowered to be a partner in their healthcare. And when you have children, and you're a parent, you really need to be empowered. And so sometimes when we go, oh, okay, the patient didn't have any questions, it's because they didn't even know what the heck you said. They didn't even know. I mean, they didn't know what question to ask about the question. So I really, especially in the NICU, I love meeting families and say, hey, what is it that you understand about your baby today? And they'll say, well, I kind of understand this and kind of understand this. And then I love saying, hey, this is what that means. And tomorrow, when the doctor comes, I want you to ask it just like this. It changes the dynamic of the conversation when you can speak the vocabulary in a way that your provider can understand how to better translate for you. And particularly with some of the disparities that we have, language barriers with cultural disparities. I mean, we have to make sure that people understood what we said. I mean, we may have lots of things that we can offer, but if they don't understand what we said, then how can they actually be a partner in their health? So social media is a great way to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Terry. It's so important for millennial moms or just moms in general to be able to grab their phone or their iPad and get information on social media from a trusted source, of course. Now, Dr. Lassiter, in today's society, where the internet is at everyone's fingertips, how do you feel social media, the internet, plays into a mom's mental health?
Oh my God,
Yes, I mean, I feel like there's benefits and there's risks with it. So, it's a great place that people can get support. A lot of moms, that's their main source of support is, their friends on Facebook or their friends on social media or these groups that they would have not had access to before. And so I think in that respect, it builds a lot of benefit and a lot of good mental health support. On the other hand, there's the issue with, you know, seeing lives in a different view, and that people, usually just post what they want to post, what they want others to see, what they feel comfortable with others knowing. And so we get a very skewed view of what people's life is like. And that can bring up a lot of different comparisons in terms of, well, I'm not doing it well enough, or I'm not doing it, like this person is. So does that mean I'm doing it wrong? Or, this person always looks so put together and happy in their relationship, and I'm just trying to remember to take a shower once a week. So it can be, I think, a good and bad thing. And I think it's important for people to remember that what they're seeing isn't maybe always the reality of the whole picture or everything that's going on.
So what you see on social media that might look like I'm the perfect mom, maybe you should check in person and make sure, of course, with COVID-19, check in via your phone and say, hey, how are you doing? And open that line of communication.
Right. I think a lot of people want to show their best side to social media because
Yeah.
it's a public platform. And so they're not going to show the vulnerable side or the weak side that our society, portrays as being bad, because they don't, want people to judge them on that stuff.
Thank you, Dr. Lassiter. It is great to hear from two doctors very knowledgeable in their fields. Take to a hot topic like social media. Now, back to you, Dr. Terry. What insight or recommendations would you give to a mom on best resources on the internet? Because it's going into the wild a lot of times.
Yeah, I call it the Wow Wow Kingdom too. I take a break at least once or twice a week. So normally I share two things with mommies. So first, we get two types. I feel like we get two types of information from social media. So one, the medical information, the facts from a trusted resource, and I'll give some examples of that. But then we get a lot of, as Dr. Lassiter said, we get a lot of social support, moral support. Is anybody else still struggling with breastfeeding? Did anybody else not have a chance to match their kids' outfits this week? Did anybody else not take Christmas cards yet? I mean, so you need that too. You need the moral support, those social circles, the normal, where I call where the normal mommies are, because not all of us are normal mommies. But I was not a normal mommy. So I'm still not. So for the medical, I always say when somebody says, hey, Dr. Kincaid, what do you think about this vaccine? I'm thinking about this. What do you think about that? I ask them, what is the source? So when you are searching medical information, there are a lot of medical bloggers on Instagram now, on Twitter. You want to verify what their credentials are. Are they providing information to care for babies, pediatrics, and they're actually a urologist? Are they giving you information and they're a radiologist? I mean, there are people who are giving information outside of the scope of their specialty. I mean, when my family calls me for advice, I'm like, did you have a preemie? Okay, no, you did. Okay, you need to call someone who can help you with that. I'm a doctor, but that's not my area of expertise. I'm not going to tell you how to manage your orthopedic fracture, but call me if you've had a baby. I can help you with that. So verify their credentials. All medical bloggers have their credentials there. You can see where they practice, where they train, are they board certified? What are their credentials? So that's the first thing. For general information for pediatrics and just dealing with COVID, navigating your social circles and the recommendations, I refer people to the same source I go to, the American Academy of Pediatrics. The wonderful thing about COVID now is all the resources are free. So like we don't even have to pay for the information. So it's great. You can just click on that tab and you can get the most current information. Even the research is summarized in sound bites for lay people. So if you want to go deeper, you can. But for the research and the recommendations, it's there. obviously the CDC has the current recommendations for pediatrics. And so if you're looking for medical information, verify that the person who is providing the information is certified in the field to provide the information. I love that we have a reproductive psychologist here. October is Pregnancy Loss and Infant Loss Awareness Month. We're moving more toward November, but a lot of mothers are struggling and getting advice from people who are not healthcare professionals in that field. So we actually have people who are certified in that field to provide more than just the feel-good information. So for medical information, check the credentials. I will make sure you verify the source. For your social circles, what are you interested in? Is it cooking? Then maybe you want to hang out with the mommies who actually cook. There's actually Instagram sites for mommies who like cleaning. I'm like, okay, that's not my thing. But if you are, I mean, hang out with them, the mental break. I mean, one of my friends just had a Facebook Live last week where everybody put together a charcuterie board. I don't cook, but like I can put together some vegetables and stuff on a board and be like, hey, yay me. And so it was
So what you're saying is to do your homework and
do
to
your
find
homework.
the right resources. And of course, we're going to provide the information that Dr. Terry has talked about in the chat for everyone. But
Yes.
also the March of Dimes is a wonderful resource. So go to the March of Dimes website. Now, Dr. Lassiter, there are many moms who rely on other moms for information through Facebook groups, through blogs, etc. What advice would you give a mom listening to other moms before going straight to a doctor with their questions?
That's one of my pet peeves. You know, I'm on all these mom Facebook groups, especially, you know, each city kind of has their mom Facebook group also. And I'll see people posting medical questions on there. And then, you know, 50, 100 comments on other people giving advice. And it just makes me cringe because we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be turning to, you know, everyday people for our medical advice. I think it's great that we get advice from other moms and other people on, you know, everyday things like, you know, what's the best shoe I should get, or, you know, what's the brand of cereal your kid will eat. But in terms of, you know, here's my kid's new skin condition, what do y'all think I should do? I don't think that that's a very safe place to be getting information from. I think that naturally we always want to go and connect with other people. And so it's how we've, you know, evolved as a species, is that we talk with other people about what we're going through, about our experiences. We get advice from friends and family. But in friends and family that we know personally, we know their whole background, or we know enough about them, about what to trust them on versus what not to trust them on. In these groups and, you know, with blogs, it's people we've never met before most of the time. And so we have no idea what their experience has been, or what their background is, or if they can be trusted on the information that they're sharing or not.
So do your homework there. Once again, find out, you know, what their advice is, and then take it to your doctor, to a reliable source. I want to thank Dr. Lassiter and Dr. Terry. I hope our viewers found this discussion to be insightful as much as I did, and as a resource on where to find the right information on the internet during your journey to becoming a mom. Once again, we appreciate you both for being here with us today and providing your expertise. Thank you so much, Dr. Lassiter, and Dr. Terry. Thank you as well.
Thanks for having us. Y'all stay safe on social media.
Now we'll head into our next topic within our Millennials and Motherhood panel: nutrition for a mom on the go or a soon-to-be mom. Healthy eating should be a top priority. Here with me today is nutritionist Katie Goldberg. Welcome, Katie. Now, Katie, can you give our viewers some more information on your background and what led to your specialty?
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It is great to be here. Talking to moms is one of my favorite things. And so I'm really honored to be part of this. So a little bit about my background. I am actually a second career dietitian. So my first career was in the nonprofit world. I was actually mentoring college students and did a variety of things really in the nonprofit world, but kind of moved into management where I was doing fundraising and communications and marketing for organizations. And to kind of make a long story short, I was working at a job and I was really seeing, we were doing social services, and I was seeing the role that a lack of preventative healthcare really played in people's lives and how that was impacting quality and quite frankly, longevity of their life and putting them into a difficult situation. And my background, I have a bachelor's in neuroscience, not a very common major, quite frankly, but so very sciencey and health sciences background. And so I began to kind of rethink my career path and what I wanted to do. And I ended up going back to school about 10 years ago to get my master's in nutrition. So since then, I've done pretty much everything you can do as a dietitian. I worked at a startup food company. I did nutrition communications at a PR agency. I have done inpatient, outpatient. I've done everything. But all through that time, I had a private practice, and that was really the thing that I was most passionate about the whole time. I dabbled in a few different specialties and found myself really by just the mere fact that all my friends were having kids, that postpartum and pregnancy really kind of entered into my world. And then it became my life stage. And, I saw the role that nutrition can play, not only in a healthy pregnancy, but really in the quality of life during that time. And, pregnancy and postpartum are very vulnerable times. It's emotionally draining. Your hormones make you crazy. And so having a support person to kind of walk you through that, I find that just so fulfilling.
I find that fascinating. So thank you so much, Katie. Let's dive into a little more of what your day-to-day is with your patients. You work with patients from the moment that they find out that they're pregnant. What is the benefit of getting in early with the nutritionist in your pregnancy journey?
Yeah, that is a really great question, and one that I get a lot, like, well, can't I just like Google it or whatever? And mom guilt is a real thing. And basically the second that you think about starting a family, the second you pee on a stick, the second you see the double lines, whatever, that mom guilt really starts to kick in, and you start second guessing yourself and questioning, and am I doing the right thing? And all of that pressure you really internalize very, very quickly. And I see so many moms that are really just burdened by that. And I find that they just don't know where to go, right? You can go to Google, but that's hours of your time. Really. You can go to your girlfriends, right? You can go to social media, but that often contradicts itself. And so you're really getting your girlfriend saying, well, I did this, so you should too. Or my doctor said no, so probably you shouldn't. And there's really not much more than that. And I say, instead of spending 30 or 40 weeks kind of questioning, are you doing it right? Just go straight to a professional, right? Just get your answers done right away. And even like your OBGYN isn't going to be that professional for you. You get very minimal nutrition background from your OBGYN. It's usually a couple quick lines about don't gain too much weight, don't eat deli meat. Oh yeah, and take a prenatal vitamin. And that's not much to go on. Even the simple task of choosing a prenatal vitamin can be really overwhelming. There are so many out there. And, most women know they should be taking one, and they can probably even name like folate. Oh, that's a nutrient I really should be trying to get. That's the important one in my prenatal vitamin. But beyond that, they have no idea. How do you compare? What's the right one? In fact, it's a question I get so often that I actually created a resource for moms. So if anyone watching is interested, you can go to my website, katiegoldberg.com/prenatal, and I'll have that linked up there to download to help kind of demystify some of the different choices that you're thinking through in a prenatal. And then, the last thing I say is you just never know when everything's going to hit you. And so, whether it's a million questions about what to eat, what's safe, what's healthy, what's damaging to the baby or yourself, all the way up to how do I manage this morning sickness? And maybe morning sickness is all day, and maybe it lasts for 40 weeks instead of, only 10, like they tell you it will. And maybe you don't pass your glucose tolerance test, or you get preeclampsia. And, in those moments, your head is just swirling and it's overwhelming. And that's not the time you want to go searching for a dietitian. You want someone on call. You want someone you know you can trust, who you have a decent rapport with. And so anyway, all that to say, I have plenty of reasons. I could talk about this forever.
So it sounds like what you do is you give them a game plan right from the very first day that they touch base with you. You say, okay, here's where you can start with prenatal vitamins, and here's where you can start with as far as cravings, what's good for you. Here's your game plan when it comes to nutrition.
Absolutely. And I work with clients, you know, on an ongoing basis, but also just sometimes you just need a little triage, you know, you just need a quick check-in. And that's okay too. But I say, hey, check in early and often, for sure.
Thank you, Katie. Great information to know for ladies who are starting their family planning. Definitely something to consider. So I hear you brought some goodies with you. What are some of the great go-to snacks for moms and moms to be?
Yeah. Again, probably the second most common question that I get. How do you actually turn it into something practical? And so some of the things I think through for a snack, I look for a balance of protein and fiber, and that is for the nutrition, and also helps ward off some of the unfortunate pregnancy symptoms, I'll say, especially with that fiber, keeps things moving, which is definitely a struggle in pregnancy, you know, and that's not always practical. You can't always necessarily match both of those, but that's a goal that I work for. And then finding things that are grab and go and easy to keep with you, because again, you never know when you're going to be either completely nauseous or completely starving. Both are potential options in pregnancy. Okay, so I brought a few things. One of my favorites, and I brought, you know, this is Skinny Pop, but really any air popped popcorn is great. And what I love about this guy, single serve, it is a simple carb. Both of my pregnancies, the first probably 12 weeks, all I could do was get carbs down, and I had to be constantly eating, and that's what kept away the nausea. And so something like real simple like this, you kind of always have something light in your purse or your bag, is a great option. It's also a whole grain, which sometimes people don't know. Popcorn is a whole grain. I feel like that is just God's gift to us.
Once again, keeps you moving.
Exactly. And because protein is so important during pregnancy, but sometimes meat just doesn't taste great, I recommend protein-rich snacks. So something like this is Orgain. Again, this is one particular brand. One of the reasons that I like these pre-made protein shakes is, again, like, it's no cooking, right? It's very easy to grab and go. Definitely drink these cold. They're not good at room temperature. Doesn't matter what the brand is. Not good at room temperature. That's not going to help you.
But that's a great tip,
right? That's just free. That's for life. But you know, you can sip on these slowly. That really helps with nausea and just kind of managing symptoms. Also, as your pregnancy goes on, your stomach, you know, it gets squished, the organs all move around. And so having something in kind of small doses is really helpful. I really like this one because it's got a nice, simple ingredient list, not too much extra stuff in it. Another protein happy thing, this is one of my favorite Greek yogurts. What I love about Siggi's is that it is lower in sugar than most other yogurts, but really any Greek style yogurt is going to be a great option. Again, this maybe, you know, should be refrigerated, but it's still a great grab and go option for you. And then the last brand that I brought with me is RX Bar, and I need to find a way to get paid by them. The amount of times I recommend this and how much I consume myself. So first you can go with just like the regular bars. They've got even these little minis, which are super cute. Also good. They've got a kids line. So if you've got little ones also running around, that's a good option. But nice, very simple ingredient list, decent source of protein and fiber. And then I love their nut butter packs. So this is great to add on to an apple. Something like an apple and a nut butter, that easily goes with you in your bag. It's not going to get squished. It's not going to go bad. The vanilla almond nut butter is my favorite, but there's plenty of options out there. But something like this, where it kind of is easy to take with you. Those are some of my favorite things. Another thing I really like to recommend is make your own trail mix. So something like nuts and seeds, a dried fruit, and maybe either a popcorn or like a high fiber cereal. Do kind of like a 1-to-1-to-1-to-1 ratio. About a quarter cup is a great serving. You're going to get lots of great nutrients in there. It's something that you can snack on slowly. not too filling. Those are some of my favorites. Oh, and of course, eggs. Again, when I was pregnant, I couldn't get enough eggs. Some women can't stand the thought of eggs when they're pregnant. So, you have to know your own cravings and aversions. But hard-boiled eggs are really great. So hard-boiled eggs and cherry tomatoes are one of my favorite snacks as well.
Sounds
So,
like
there's
you're
a
all
bunch.
about meal planning too when you're pregnant. When you're a mom to be, you want to make sure that you're getting a constant source of nutrition so you don't have a crash during the day. So do some meal planning so that you have those snacks at the ready.
Yes, exactly. So whether you're throwing those snacks in a bag or your purse or just kind of constantly having them all over you, I feel like you should never leave the house without snacks. Pretend you're a toddler, just go for it. But also it's really important to meal plan and meal prep. And, it's really a struggle for a lot of my pregnant clients because cooking just doesn't sound good. Either they're exhausted or smells just really don't sit well with them. And so one of the things I really like to recommend is batch cooking components of a meal. And you can cook or you can use the convenience items at your grocery store. So like a rotisserie chicken, boom, protein for the week, right? Well, depending on how many other people are in your house. So that's a great option. Batch cooking things like quinoa, brown rice, barley, bulgur, something like that. I like to freeze them in single serving portions. So they're real easy to pull out. Maybe get some frozen veggies or roast a big batch of veggies and then just get some extra different flavors of sauces and seasonings like salsa and chimichurri and a curry sauce and a peanut sauce. And then whatever you're in the mood for that day, you just throw it all together and make a bowl out of it or a salad or something like that. You and your husband don't even have to eat the same thing or any other family members, your partner, whoever's living in your house. You can really customize a little bit more to your the whims of
Yeah.
pregnancy, I guess I'll say.
Are there cravings
Yeah.
that you should give into and cravings that you should probably stay away from?
I am a big fan of, hey, cravings are part of things and like lean into it. Sometimes I really think it's your body telling you what you need. If it's always only chocolate, just, you need to eat some other things too. The only things I really say to avoid when it comes to cravings are foods that are going to be damaging to you anyway, right? Like don't give into your craving for a big glass of wine. Like that's a no-no for sure. But otherwise, I think it's really important to listen to your body. And if you're hungry, eat, especially when you're pregnant. It's really important. So I say, go for it. Prioritize good nutrition. I'm not saying, throw it all out. But when you prioritize the same basic tenets that we tell everyone, right? It's not sexy. It's just true. Whole grains, fruits and veggies, lean protein. Like when you lean into those and make those the cornerstone of your diet, then yeah, enjoy the things that you're craving. Absolutely.
How about the importance of hydration during your pregnancy?
Yes, that is super important. So not only your metabolism raises when you're pregnant, right? Because you're like creating a new life. And so that just requires more water. And also dehydration when you're pregnant can be pretty serious. It can, mess up with the amniotic fluid and the placenta and everything. And so continuing to stay hydrated. And I know that that's a bummer because you already have to go to the bathroom a lot when you're pregnant. And so you kind of just have to suck it up. And I'm sorry to say that. I wish there was a better answer. But continuing to stay hydrated is really important. I always recommend water first, but you can do sparkling water, you can do infused water, an herbal tea, especially something that is decaf just to avoid too much caffeine. But yeah, staying hydrated is definitely a big factor.
Okay, so I'm making a plan to head to the grocery store. What are 5 things that I should grab at the grocery store if I'm pregnant?
Oh, yes, so many things. The first 5 things you can see, right? Okay, no. So first, I would grab some nuts. They're simple, portable, easy snack. So pretty much any nut you like, that's the right one to pick. Pick some frozen spinach. That is, in my opinion, the best deal that you can get in the grocery store. That is folate. That is your leafy greens. That's an easy way to throw veggies into any meal. I would get a pouch or a can of tuna or salmon. And I know that this is a little bit of a controversial topic because a lot of women think that they need to avoid seafood when they're pregnant. I'm going to tell you, my secret is that the benefits of seafood far outweigh the risks of mercury. And I've got all kinds of research to back that up, but I'll let you just know that's the bottom line.
Just don't go overboard, right? Just don't go overboard.
Yeah. And there is a company, there's a few companies out there that actually test their fish, and so they know that they're low in mercury. Safe Catch is one of my favorites, but there's a couple out there. Wild Planet, I think, as well. Okay, so that's 3. A big bottle of water. So maybe it's not really environmentally conscious. A reusable water bottle, you can get those at the grocery store.
Perfect.
That'll do it. And then a high fiber cereal that is going to hit your fiber, and it's also going to give you kind of that nice easy carb if you're struggling with the morning sickness.
What was your website once again, Katie?
Yes, it is katiegoldberg.com.
Thank you so much, Katie, for your time today. We really appreciate it. A lot of great information and easy ways for moms and moms-to-be to keep up with their nutrition during pregnancy. Thank you, Katie.
Absolutely. Thanks again for having me. Really appreciate it.
Last but not least on our topics within our Millennials and Motherhood panel is fertility. Our panelists are going to share their experience on starting their journey to becoming a mom and facing the issue of infertility, plus advice from a fertility specialist. Joining me today is Channing Milfeld, Samantha Stewart, and Dr. Robert Kaufman. Thank you all so much for being here to discuss a topic that affects many, but yet isn't quite openly discussed. Channing and Samantha, big thanks to both of you for your willingness to share your personal journeys on becoming a mom and also the obstacles that you both faced. Channing, let's start with you. Please share with us just a little bit about yourself and your journey on becoming a mom, Channing.
Thank you. So I am a mom of 2, and our journey began, my husband and I are about to celebrate our 7-year anniversary this November. And we started the journey about 5.5 years ago. Took us a little while to figure out what was going on, and then went and saw a fertility doctor with our first one. She's now 4, and did a few drugs first shot out of the gate. We were lucky, got pregnant, had no issue. So we just thought, great, we've found a doctor, we got the scientific help, everything's exactly what we need. So we waited. I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, and found out about 6 months in that I was not meant to be a stay-at-home mom. I am a teacher at heart. I was born to be a teacher. I love interacting with high school students. And so I'm a high school teacher right now. I teach English, so American literature and world literature. I am at John Paul II High School up in Plano. And so I missed the classroom so much. So I went back to school and was able to kind of balance being a mom and a teacher and a wife and all of these things. So about 1.5 years into having Finley, we decided, our 4-year-old, we decided that we wanted another one. And so we went back to the same doctor saying, this is what we did the first time and we're ready. And we were ready that we were scheduling it to a T. And we actually tried to schedule it around a friend's wedding. Unfortunately, my favorite motto that my grandmother used to say was, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. And so he kind of laughed throughout this whole process. And 2.5 years later, through 3 doctors, 2 miscarriages, a lot of questions, a lot of tears, and really trying to grow together and figure out, okay, are we just going to be a family of 3? Is this what we're meant to be? Are we going to go fully to the IVF, or what does that look like? We finally met our doctor who brought us our baby boy, and I had a COVID baby. I have a 4.5-month-old. He was born in June, and so we are incredibly blessed. Even after the crazy journey, my husband Chris is a godsend, because I was so sick during pregnancy and trying to Zoom teach and do all these things, and he kind of held the house down and did everything that was needed. And so we are now a crazy family of 4. This is the first time I've actually blow dried my hair and done real makeup in quite some time and not covered it up with a mask or dry shampoo. That's apparently our, favorite thing as moms. But so yeah, so that was kind of our journey, and here we are. So we're very happy, but yes, very, very tired and very ready for COVID to go away so we can fully have play dates again.
Well, you look absolutely awesome. So kudos on that. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And congrats on your latest addition to the family, especially during this crazy COVID time.
Yes.
That's amazing. I want to hear more about that. But Samantha, same to you. Please share with us a little bit about yourself and your journey on becoming a mom.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I am a mom, or my wife is 17 years, and I have 2 children by adoption. One is 7 and one is 4. Our infertility, I'm a pharmacist locally, and then I'm also a digital influencer in Fort Worth. And so that's actually how it got started, because we were having a lot of infertility. Like after we started trying to have children, and my friends wanted me to blog about it, but I didn't feel comfortable because it's a very emotionally raw experience, like up and down roller coasters. So we started, we weren't getting pregnant right away, and we were wondering, like, are we just not drinking the right water that everyone else is? Because everyone else was getting pregnant. So we tried for a while. It didn't work. My husband, we had to move to Houston for his fellowship. So we started seeing a fertility specialist there. And we did a lot of diagnosing there. And then we had to move again. And at that time, nothing was wrong. We had to move again for his fellowship. So we were in Germany for a couple of months. So we kind of just put things on hold. And when we went to Fort Worth, our fertility doctor in Houston recommended someone in Dallas. And I was trying to do that trip there. But like at one point I had like sperm in my bra driving to Dallas to keep it warm. And I was like, this is just not going to work. So I was lucky to discover Dr. Kaufman, and he's amazing. His office staff is amazing. And so we saw Dr. Kaufman, like after basically our fertility journey was 3 rounds of IUI and 3 rounds of IVF, but it ended up not working. And we just kind of took a break because it was just a lot at that time. And then I ended up actually having surgery for endometriosis, but after the doctor at that time said, oh, you know what, you can have babies. And at that time I was literally done. I was like, no more, we're just going to go a different route. I don't really want to depend on my body to produce a baby. So we ended up doing an adoption plan. And that's where we adopted through an agency in Dallas. And then we loved it so much that when we were ready for our second child, we went through Hope Cottage again.
Thank you so much, Samantha, for sharing your story, a different type of outcome than what Channing had, but I really appreciate you sharing your story and the fact that you're connected to Dr. Kaufman, so it makes for a perfect segue. Dr. Kaufman, thank you so much for being a part of the panel, and please share with us your medical background and what led you to become a fertility specialist.
Well, I guess I'm sort of like a hybrid because I actually went through fertility treatments as well. And, but that's not why I got involved in the field. Everybody always asks me, is that why you got involved with this? I said, no, just happened to be happenstance. And I guess it's meant to be the way it's meant to be, which has really only enriched my desire to help my patients. But I went to, of course, medical school, and I did a residency. And then during residency, I saw a baby being born. I'm like, this is the coolest thing I have ever seen. So that's what sort of got me interested in OB/GYN. And then started doing infertility rotations. I thought, this is pretty cool. This was in a long time ago. This gray hair is not premature, by the way. It's well earned. And then I thought, this is really cool. My dad was an ophthalmologist, seemed to be a little, I'm not saying boring, but not my cup of tea. And I thought, this is really cool. This is like cutting edge. This is really happening. So I did a fellowship. And then after that, I actually did sort of another fellowship through the NIH at the Jones Institute, where the first test tube baby was born. So that was sort of the Harvard in those days, I guess, with the Joneses there, who were responsible for the first test tube babies in the United States. And so I got involved in genetic testing. I was one of the first to do genetic testing on embryos. So I did academics for a while. And then I'm like, yeah, this isn't really my cup of tea. And then an opportunity opened up in Fort Worth. I kept saying, no, 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 no. Finally, said, we're not going to ask you again, Rob. I'm like, we'll take a look. So my wife and I came here, thought it was a really neat place to live, and it has been. So I've been here about 15 years. I have wonderful, wonderful patients like Samantha, Channing. I mean, just love my patients. They're all awesome. So anyway, long story short, we came here. Right before coming here, Isabella was born, and that was through in vitro fertilization. And so we brought Isabella here when she was 6 days old, right from the hospital here, because my wife wanted to deliver in Atlanta with her OB. Said, okay, but the deal is once you deliver, we're on our way. So we came here when Bella was 6 days old, started Fort Worth Fertility 15 years ago, and we're the only IVF center here in Fort Worth. I've got an awesome staff, really great people. We do our in vitro, inseminations, whatever. And so it's been a great experience for us. And then actually I had Max, who was through in vitro fertilization as well. He's 14 now. So, you know, that experience has only enriched my actually desires and my compassion for our patients to help them get pregnant. And it's not like one shoe fits all, as you can hear from Samantha and Channing. There are different ways to approach it. I think, you know, my philosophy is let's give our patients the options, see what they feel comfortable with, and do the best we can and make patients feel like they're getting the best treatment possible. Obviously, the outcome of having a baby is what we're all geared toward. But I think even, for example, right, Samantha, it's like if you just feel you've given it your best and you've gotten the best care, things lead you in a certain direction, and it's meant to be a certain way. I'm sure, Samantha, you're just like thrilled with your family. Channing, you're thrilled with your family, and things ultimately work the way they're supposed to. We had a really tough time as well. We had multiple factors. We even did an egg collection once through in vitro fertilization, didn't get any eggs. So we're like, oh my God. And then you just keep the faith and things work out the way they're supposed to work out. But I appreciate the invite, and I'm available for whatever you guys need.
Thank you, Dr. Kaufman. Channing, for a woman right now, a millennial, who is having issues getting pregnant and thinking to herself, I thought that it was going to be so easy. What is your advice to them about your own personal journey and when you think that they should be reaching out to a fertility specialist?
I think it really depends on your medical history. So we knew pretty early, I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian disease when I was 15. And so I had had issues with my cycle, with bloating, with ovaries, with cysts rupturing, all of these things kind of my entire teenage and young adult years. And so we kind of knew, okay, we're ready to start the process. Let's pull the goalie, as my husband says, and, you know, get off the pill and see what happens. And so we tried for about a year just on our own, but we weren't, you know, really trying, but we weren't not trying. And then, you know, I called my OB-GYN and said, you know, nothing's happened. What's, you know, we're getting a lot of practice, but there's no babies. What's going on? And so then we went and kind of ran all the gamut of tests. And, you know, I think at this point, with the way science has come, I think it's great to just arm yourself with the knowledge up front. Even if that's just a simple check with your normal OB-GYN and saying, your normal gynecologist, just, hey, can you run my blood? Do you foresee any issues? Those types of things. And just really being open to maybe having to do something different. You know, thank you, social media. I felt like, you know, like our friend said, what water am I supposed to drink? How am I supposed to get that baby? Everybody else is, you know, is getting there and we're not. But my journey was my journey. And so I think that that's what we need to remember, is that no matter how it ends or what's happening in the midst of it, you know, reach out for help, ask those questions. And I really wish, looking back now and, you know, being asked to do this panel, that I had shared my journey, that I had talked to more friends. I didn't realize after I had had my 2 miscarriages how many people I knew that also had had miscarriages. Then my mother would reach out to her friends and just say, hey, pray for Channing. She's struggling right now. And they'd go, oh, well, you know, I had 2 miscarriages, or I had 1. And it starts this whole conversation that I think we forget we might even need to have. And so I think we need to, as millennials, and unfortunately social media is an amazing thing, but we also do the comparison game. And I just have to remember that it's my journey, and this is me and my husband and my family, and it's God's plan for us. And, you know, it worked out somewhat the way I wanted, but in the midst of it, it didn't. And so you just have to learn and kind of roll with the punches.
Honestly, I have to say that I was so grateful that Christy Teigen and John Legend shared the story of her miscarriage, and the raw emotion in the pictures that they took while they were in the hospital immediately after she miscarried. And Samantha, I have to think that you saw what she went through, and you had to think to yourself, I know what you're going through. Let's talk about mental health and taking care of your mental health when you're on this journey, Samantha. What advice do you have for someone who's going through this journey?
I think I wish, like Channing said, I would have shared more. I think it was hard for me because it was hard to share such vulnerable feelings, like, you know, and then feeling as a woman, that if you're not able to have a child, like not living up to being a woman. So I kind of wish I would have shared that, because I know other people were going through that too. But I think that what's important is that people, when they have those feelings are to reach out. And now there are so many resources that people can find to help them with like mental health, because when you don't share and you keep it all in, I don't feel like that's actually quite healthy. Like I really struggled a lot. And like I said, my friends wanted me to share, but it was hard for me to share because no one else was going through the same thing. Like they all had children, like, and that's what they blogged about. And they wanted me to blog about like not being able to have children. So it was hard for me. But nowadays with social media, there's like, if you are looking for something, you will be able to find it. And I feel like also, you know, as far as professionals go, like mental health wise, if you're feeling really bad about things, a lot of times, like Dr. Kaufman's office, they had flyers for people you could reach out to, like groups of women who were going through the same thing as you. So you would be able to talk to them. And, you know, I didn't do it at that time, and I don't know why. I think I was just too hurt or, you know, ashamed or something, but I wish I would have done that. And I would urge anyone who has those feelings to reach out to people in those groups, because you could gain a lot from those people, and you will see that you're not alone.
Dr. Kaufman, how much does it help you as a fertility specialist, the fact that you and your wife have been through this journey yourselves?
Huge. I mean, I was always, I think, very compassionate. I come from that type of background and family and so forth. But until I actually went through it myself, I didn't really understand it as well. Just like having an experience, you're part of that group of people. So you can kind of, I think, empathize better. You can understand it. I mean, as kind of Samantha was talking about, you can feel pretty alone, and you feel like you've done something maybe not right or whatever, because we dealt with both male and a female factor with us. So we kind of had both sides of the spectrum. But I think having gone through it myself, I can empathize with my patients, because ours was a pretty tough deal. I mean, you wouldn't have gone to Vegas with our odds. But
No.
you know, we won the hand twice. We've got Isabella, who's 15, Max is 14. And sometimes we want to return them, but I guess we can't. So we'll keep them. We'll keep them for now. But you know, also my wife, it was really hard for her as well, and so we kind of lived through it. You know, I think there is a lot of support out there. I think you know, my suggestion for people is to get the best care possible. There are a lot of really good OBGYNs, but you want to get the right information and be on the right track. So, you know, as far as, you know, referring to maybe infertility specialist or whatever, I think that can be helpful depending on your situation to get the right information. There's a lot of stuff out there that can be very confusing on the internet and so forth. And so you kind of want to break it down, get the right information, understand the right options, and what's appropriate for you. What's appropriate for one couple may not be appropriate for the other, but there are fairly good techniques to help our patients get pregnant, and a lot of options available, both medically and psychologically.
And the March of Dimes is a wonderful resource for people. If they want information, go to marchofdimes.org. There's so much information about becoming a mom, about getting pregnant, how to have a healthy pregnancy, marchofdimes.org. Channing, did you ever reach out to the March of Dimes during your journey on becoming a mom?
I knew about it, and I had friends that had, tried to get me involved. And honestly, like Samantha said, there was just this shame. I don't really want to get involved because I don't want people to know that this is what I'm struggling with. And I really didn't want to bring attention to it. It's like you want somebody to give you the answer, but at the same time, you're not willing to ask the question. And so that was really, it was just really hard. And now I'm so thankful that after the fact, I'm able to get involved, and maybe I will reach somebody out there and just, reach out, ask for help, just share your story, because there are people listening. There is an answer. There's an answer to whatever your journey is supposed to be. And I'm just thankful that I was able to kind of get rid of that shame and realize that, hey, this is just part of the process, and this is who I am. And without, this heartbreaking story, I wouldn't be the mom I am. I wouldn't be the wife I am. I wouldn't be the daughter, teacher, all of these things. And so I think you learn so much from it. I just wish I had learned maybe in the midst of other people that were in the same process.
Well, that's why I'm so happy that we're having this conversation, is because we're raising awareness and we're starting the conversation so that a mom-to-be who's going through this and feels like Channing or Samantha and is ashamed for whatever reason, justified or not, with those feelings, that that the March of Dimes is there and that you can talk to someone, and that you should probably reach out because you're not alone. Samantha, I want to talk to you about your journey from going from, I want to have a baby and I'm going to Dr. Kaufman and I'm doing everything and it's not working, to I'm going to Hope Cottage and we're going to have a family this way through adoption.
Okay, yeah, so we did have to take a little break, and I have to say this, like, even though we didn't have a baby with Dr. Kaufman, like, anytime I can, I recommend people to him, because I truly think he's an amazing doctor and I love his staff. Like, they are great. Like I said, even though it didn't work for me, I don't believe that that's with everyone, because everyone has their own story. But we did have to have some time to just kind of recollect and kind of almost balance out how our feelings were, because it was just up and down a lot. And my husband actually was ready for adoption before I was. I think because we're on this journey to really try and have our own child, I almost had my heart set on that, and I don't know why, but I really wanted to be a mother. And then I realized, oh, you can adopt, duh. then it was actually so exciting. Like, when I got the paperwork, I know, I think a lot of people are, when you talk to adoption agencies and things like that, there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of things you have to do. And I was like, I can totally do this. Like, my body, I don't know what it's doing as far as making a baby, but I can do paperwork, I can do books, I can do any of that. So I was just so excited. And I mean, that's like, I seem like over enthusiastic, but that's truly how I felt. I almost felt relieved. So honestly, I felt like that was almost like God's plan to like lead me that way. Cause I was like, I got this, like, we can do this. And it worked out really, really well. And we had such a positive first adoption experience. And, I know other people have talked about everything being so hard, but I don't know. It was like, I guess it was meant to be. It just feels like it was meant to be for us, because when my son was born, when Matthew was born, it was really like angels singing, and
Oh,
like, we were crying, the light was shining, the nurses came to us, we were just like, ah. So it was great. But I mean, it just took a while for me to get over the fact that we couldn't have our own child. And then, like, my desire to be a mother was so strong. I was like, why am I missing this? Like, why am I missing that adoption is an option, and then, I can't even consider if anything else would have happened. Like, we're so lucky to have our 2 children.
Dr. Kaufman, that's part of your job as well, is to help a woman get to that point to where, okay, we can do, this is everything that we can do medically, but at some point you have to tell them you may have to look at other options if you want to become a mom.
Yeah, I mean, I could start crying what Samantha just said. I'm sure
Yeah.
you too, right? I don't have tissues, so I can't do that right now. But I mean, this is a really good illustration, I think, of how things sort of work out. When you go through this journey, you feel like a failure, like why I really want this. And just like Samantha was illustrating, you get to a point where the sun shines and you can move on to something else, but you need to feel in your heart you've done everything you can. And if you're wishy-washy about it, it doesn't work. So in other words, you know, even going to adoption or whatever, you know, you get to that place where you feel you've done everything you can. You feel really comfortable with the medical treatment you got, felt like they did the best, I did the best. And then you end up in a place like Samantha, where it sort of sounds corny, but things are meant to be the way they're meant to be. And I really believe that, because you can have very difficult journeys and you'll know when it's time to, for example, move on to something else or keep going. Like my wife was very persistent, which she still is, by the way. That hasn't changed. So our journey was difficult. She was very persistent and she was open to other options, you know, whether it be probably adoption or egg donation or whatever. But until you get to that point, you keep just trying and focusing on what's in front of you rather than the rear view mirror. But I see this time and time again, it works the way it's supposed to work. You have your family, and if the things didn't work before, which seems like not fair, or you know, you get kind of mad, like, why isn't this working? But what you can't see what's in front of you, which eventually you'll see, just like Samantha, you know, she can look back now, I would assume, I hope I'm not paraphrasing. But if she didn't go through those experiences, she wouldn't be here with her wonderful family that she truly loves. And it eventually works out the way it's going to work out, whether it's adoption, you get pregnant, with different treatments that can be offered, because there's a lot to offer. I think you need the information. I think you need the support of your family, your practitioners, whatever you need to help you get through the process. But most patients really do end up with the family if you're open to different notions, but you can't open one door without closing one. And you need to feel like everybody's giving you the best care, you've done the best you can, and then you can move on, or you get pregnant, or you know what happens. We don't have the crystal ball. We can sort of get an idea statistically what your chances are, but you know, it's an evolving process, both for females and the males, because it's not easy for the husbands either. You got to be really careful what you say when you're going through this to the wife.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I want to ask both Channing and Samantha, what are things that you should never say to someone who's going through this journey? Channing, I'll start with you. Like friends and family who mean the best, but what did you not want to hear from them?
Oh, wow. I get it now, and I fully understand where her heart was at when it happened. But after my first miscarriage, a dear family friend said to me, well, that just wasn't meant to be your baby. And in the midst of it, it was kind of okay, well, I get that, but I also just it was a baby. It was a fetus. I saw it on the monitor. The heartbeat just stopped. And it was growing inside me, and I had to have it removed because I couldn't pass it myself. And so it was a living thing in me. And so, but now on, hindsight's 2020, I go to the end, and I now have our baby boy. And just like Samantha said, I don't know what I would do without him. And if I had had those other two babies, would I not have this baby? And what would that mean? And so she had gone through multiple miscarriages. And so I understand where she was coming from. But I think in the moment, It just was, but I wanted that baby. My heart was set on that baby. And so, you know, I held up my end of the bargain. What's going on? And so it was just kind of a misunderstanding, but I get it now.
Yeah. What about you, Samantha?
Well, first I was just going to talk about the husband thing. They do process it differently. So one thing to never say to your husband is like, oh, you're not as upset, because just because they're not like bawling their eyes out doesn't mean they're not upset. So that's one thing for the husbands or the significant others that when they're going through the infertility. But I think something that was said kind of to me that was hurtful was someone said, well, maybe you're just not meant to be a mother. And I mean, that's just really hurtful when someone says that. So I would probably say, never say that to someone. That's not something you should ever say.
Thank you both, Channing and Samantha, for sharing your stories, and Dr. Kaufman for sharing your expertise. Thank you so much for your time. I hope moms out there who are going through this process found some comfort in Channing and Samantha's stories. Once again, we appreciate your willingness to share your story with others. Your test is your testimony, as they say. Dr. Kaufman, thank you again for your time and sharing your medical insight. We so appreciate it. Honestly, I've learned so much, and my heart is with both of you. And I can hardly wait to go online and see pictures of those babies, both Channing's and Samantha's. Thank you to our viewers out there. We hope the information provided was helpful, inspiring, and beneficial to you during your journey on becoming a mom. Remember, March of Dimes is a reliable resource and support system for moms and babies, not just during the COVID-19 pandemic, but all of the time. For more information and to see what panels are next in the It Starts with Mom Texas Edition series, I invite you to visit itstartswithmom.org for more information and for additional resources and support. From all of us here, thank you again for joining us today for It Starts with Mom Live Texas Edition. We'll see you next time.